guys, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. I'm Amanda, and today I'm going to go ahead and fix up my beds. A couple things need amended. It looks like my onions are just about ready to come out of the ground. And there are a few tomatoes over here on my determinate bed that they need a little something. They're getting to get blossom bottom rot. So this is where the bottom of the tomato starts to rot, and it's a lack of calcium that causes this. And so I bought some fertilizers today that are organic, and I'm hoping that by adding this amendment I can go ahead and prevent this from happening to future tomatoes that come along on the vine. A lot of my plants need water. I've kind of neglected my garden for the past few days. It has been really hot and I've been kind of busy with work, so the garden kind of went to the back of the mind. But I'm here today to give my plants some love and make sure they're still providing for me and they are healthy. I haven't done anything to them since the start of the season when I added some manure. So I just picked up some of Dr. Earth's Pure Gold Organic and Natural all-purpose fertilizer. This is a 2-2-2 formula, so that's 2% nitrogen, 2% phosphate, and 2% soluble potash. So it's all natural, and this is going to help bring a little bit more nutrition back into the soil. I am starting a compost this year, and it's been going since about the middle of December, but it's really not much, and it hasn't broken down a whole ton, just because I am continuing to add food scraps to it throughout the season. And so by the end of the season I will go ahead and add that into all of my garden beds back here. But for now I'm going to go ahead and add the all-purpose fertilizer to both of my tomato beds. And then for my onions and garlic are heavy nitrogen feeders, and so I got blood meal. This is also an organic option for adding nutrients back into your soil. So the really important thing with adding fertilizers to your soil is to make sure you follow the directions. Adding too much of these things can actually fry or burn up your leaves and plants. So it is really important to make sure that you're following the directions on those. I know it seems like a good idea to go ahead and add more. You think it'll help it make it grow even bigger, but it's really best to add exactly what the directions are saying to add. So for the blood meal, it's saying basically a cup for every 20 square feet. I'm gonna have to do some math and see exactly how big my garden beds are. Let's see. Most of my beds are about 3 feet by 8 feet. 16. So 24. So about a cup. I'll be adding about a cup of each of these fertilizers. I believe the all-purpose is a cup. Yeah, a cup for every 20 square feet as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle these into the beds and then make sure to water them thoroughly just so that it does dilute and seep into the soil. So in this bed I'm adding the blood meal. These are my white onions, my garlic, and I have some yellow onions. They are starting to die back a little bit, and I don't know if that's just because it's been so hot and I forgot to water them, or if it's because they are just about ready to be coming out of the ground and curing. But still, I'm going to go ahead and add this just to give them a little bit more nutrition in the soil, and we'll just see what happens. So this is my 3 by 8 foot bed, so I am going to add that full cup of blood meal. Blood meal is pretty stinky, as well as with any of the other fertilizers, so I think I'm going to actually go ahead and grab something to pour this into. So I had this in my garage. This is something that I'm using for starts, old Starbucks cup. I'm going to go ahead and use this to disperse my blood meal. And I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball the exact amount for that cup. I'm going to say that's about good. So for this, I'm going to try to keep this in between all the plants and not pour it directly on the bulbs, just because I don't want it to burn the bulbs. Okay, so again, I just went ahead and eyeballed the all-purpose fertilizer. That's the 222 solution, so the phosphate, the nitrogen, and I'm going to go ahead and spread this in between my tomato plants, so hopefully I can get some bigger, better, tastier tomatoes. Guys, this is my indeterminate tomato bed. You guys helped me build my tomato trellis. It is working, but it is not going to last. I did not get treated lumber, so this wood is going to start to sag, as it already has, but it's going to work great for this season, and next season I'll come up with something better. Maybe I'll get a cow panel or a cattle panel. Maybe I'll get a cattle panel. Those are more traditionally used, I've seen, with trellising up indeterminate tomatoes, but I'm going to stick with this year. I do need to go ahead and prune back my suckers on these plants, but as you can see, I have so many tomatoes in this bed, and I'm so excited for canning these. And I think actually this is my first year growing beefsteak tomatoes, so these bigger tomatoes down here. I've already gotten one Paul Robinson. It is up in my kitchen getting ready to be used, and I made homemade spaghetti sauce the other night. Roasted the tomatoes, well, halved them, put some garlic infused olive oil on them, and then some salt, and then roasted them in the oven, and then added them into some browned peppers and onions, and made a really delicious tomato sauce. But I'm gonna go ahead and give this bed as well some of that all-purpose fertilizer, just to make sure that they're still growing, getting the nutrients that they need. So actually these first two tomatoes, or three tomatoes, are my Paul Robinsons. The back row are my Boxcar Willies. They're also a beefsteak variety. And then on this back bed I have my Opalka, and I have such trouble saying that name, Opalka. It's O-P-A-L-K-A. They're a kind of Roma tomato. They're a little bigger than the Romas, and I'll go ahead and show you guys. So these are the Opalka. They are a really large paste tomato. Well, so good thing about tomatoes is that you can red them or get them to ripen in the windowsill as long as they've already started to get that color. They've already started producing they've already started releasing that agent inside of them that makes them turn and ripen. If they fall off the vine when they're green, they will not turn red, but this is okay. I will put him in my windowsill, and he will still be used in some delicious sauce. So just for a size comparison, this is my Roma tomato and this is the Opalka tomato. So they are quite a bit longer, but they have a similar flavor profile. I have about another cup of the all-purpose fertilizer. I'm going to go ahead and spread this evenly in this bed, and then I have my soaker hose running right now. This hose goes through both of my tomato beds. This soaker hose goes through both of my tomato beds. So it'll give it a nice soak and make sure that all of the nutrients from this fertilizer seeps into the soil. So all of my beds are fertilized. You really don't need to do this that often. If you're starting to see some damage or some signs of wear and tear or disease, like yellowing leaves, curled leaves, really any of those things, that's when you want to start adding those fertilizers. Typically with these things you want to add maybe every 2 months or so. Yeah, so every other month, is a good schedule for adding these fertilizers. I like to do it at the beginning of the season, right before the plants go in the ground, and then also just as the season goes. So keep in mind, guys, just because you forget to water your beds or give them an extra supplement or fertilizer, they're still going to produce, and it's not too late to help them or get back on track. Plants want to grow. Whether you tend to them or not, they're gonna grow. So don't get discouraged and keep on growing, and I'll see you guys next time.